to be commensurate with your experience?
I did. I remember. So I went to Cornell Law School. I had a background in corporate and securities law. I worked for an AmLaw 100 law firm. I was on call 24/7 for 7 days a week. And I was expected to get things done very quickly and very carefully. Transactions were very complicated. They involved high dollar amounts. So given and given all of that,
Did you receive equity interests as part of your compensation?
no.
Did you ever receive gifts outside of your base pay?
I received loans, as we've discussed, and I received, he helped me purchase my house in New Jersey, which ultimately got paid back. And then when I went to purchase the house in Florida, he agreed to purchase my house in New Jersey on a deferred basis, gave me the money in advance, which was used then to purchase the house in Florida. And that ultimately, because he died, that never came to pass. And according to the estate plan, that contract was basically null. Obviously, if there's no money in the estate, that there will be an accounting that has to happen. But
Plus the IVF treatment.
what's that?
Plus the IVF treatment.
Oh, plus the IVF treatment. Sorry. Yes. That was a gift. Yes.
And during the minorities hour, I recognize that they talked to you at length about the loan. Was the $7 million provided at one time, or was it
Over time.
and between 2013 and 2017 is what I believe you testified to?
17 or 18.
And did you approach Mr. Epstein and ask him for these loans?
I did. Yes.
What did that look like?
I told him that I'd like some more money. I'd like to do it. I was thinking about doing investments, and he would tell me, "Okay, I'll loan you this amount." And it was very definitely a loan.
And Chairman Comer had discussed it in Mr. Epstein's investments. Did he have an opinion on the specific investment that you're looking to make?
No, he never discussed investments, Jeffrey.
Did you receive any other remuneration we did not cover?
I don't think I did. I don't recall anything else.
In performing your roles and responsibilities for Mr. Epstein, I'm going to ask you if you communicate with the following individuals.
Okay.
First, Mr. Richard Kahn,
Yes.
Mr. Harry Beller,
Yes.
Miss Leslie Groff,
Yes.
Miss Sarah Kellen,
Yes.
Miss Nadia Marcinkova,
Yes.
Miss Karina Shuliak,
Yes.
Miss Bella Klein,
Yes.
Mr. Emad Hanna,
Yes.
for the in regards to all of these individuals, how would you typically communicate with them?
Sometimes personally, for example, Emad at one point, Emad and Rich Khan and Bella and I were in the same office in New York City. Harry too, if Harry Bella, and I believe Leslie was also there.
And is that the 301 address?
No, originally there was an address on Madison Avenue. And then there was an address when Epstein was in jail. each of us moved to different offices in 301 East 66th Street for a period of time. And then after he came out of jail, each of us moved to offices in an executive office space on Lexington Avenue.
What was Mr. Khan's role?
He was an accountant. I don't know if he actually heard him referred to as a CFO, but I don't know if he actually had an official title. Also,
How closely did you work with Mr. Khan?
we had offices near each other. We talked about if there was a specific job that required me telling him something or him telling me something. We communicated that way, but we weren't close. I think there's at least a few occasions where we socialized. I think he went to my kid's bat mitzvah. And I think when one of the office people was leaving, we had a dinner we went to together. That was the relationship.
What role did Harry Beller play?
Harry Beller was, as I understand it, a bookkeeper.
And
And he was in the accounting department. And again, my role was more legal accounting. So the specifics of what was done in the accounting department was not something that I knew as much about.
but you mentioned Mr. Khan, you'd worked in close proximity to him. Was that true for Mr. Beller as well?
Mr. Beller worked in the same office. Again, not in the same office, but in the same floor. We had offices on the same floor. So we saw each other from time to time. I didn't sit with him. But if he had a question about something, I would answer a question. I had a question about something, and I can't tell you specifically what the question would be about. I would ask him the question.
Outside of work, did you socialize with Mr. Beller?
I'm trying to remember if Mr. Beller was invited to and attended my daughter's bat mitzvah. He may have. But other than that, no.
What was Bella Klein's role?
She was also in the accounting office, also a bookkeeper. But the specifics of what her job was, I don't know.
Did you socialize with Miss Klein?
Also, I went to one wedding with her. And I believe she was invited. Emad Hanna.
Yeah.
He was a purchasing person. Purchased a lot of equipment and tools, heavy machinery, particularly for the, if I recall, for the island Little St. James when there was a lot of construction projects going on there.
Did you socialize with him?
He may have gone to the bat mitzvah, I don't remember. I think he did.
While working with these individuals, did you ever discuss anything related to Mr. Epstein's personal life?
No.
During litigation with JP Morgan, there's been documents that have shown JP Morgan staff making comments that tend to show they may have had some awareness into Mr. Epstein's personal life. One in particular was referencing him hanging out with Miley Cyrus. Is it your testimony today that you do not recall ever having any conversations with the people you worked with that related to Mr. Epstein's affinity with young women or girls?
My recollection is I never had a conversation with anybody in the accounting office about Epstein's affinity for younger girls. I don't know that he had an affinity for younger girls. I don't recall ever having any kind of conversation like that.
You had a name, Arda Bascardis.
Arda Bascardis was an immigration lawyer.
What degree and frequency did you interact with him?
I interacted with him a number of times.
How many separate instances? Are we talking a dozen?
I mean, Maybe it does, and maybe a little bit more.
Was that surrounding immigration cases for his assistants or other individuals?
Assistance, it may have been for some of the island managers were from like South Africa, it may have been for them. So that would have been a couple from South Africa.
You worked on were young, attractive women.
I don't think it's appropriate for me to comment on attractive women.
Women between the ages of 15 and 30.
I would say
That's a wide range. I'm not
that's
sure
a
that
very
women
wide
qualifies for that. Right.
I don't recall there being any underage women ever that I did work for.
How many women between the ages of 18 and 30 did you work with Artemis Cardis to facilitate immigration paperwork? Range?
I think the
Less than 10, more than 20?
first, can we think the verb facilitate immigration paperwork? To the extent that I did anything, it was to look over a document or to add a request from a person to provide a document. But I wasn't facilitating immigration. That's not an appropriate word. I'm sorry.
If Artemis Cardis asks you for documents to beef up an immigration application, I would use the word facilitate, but okay.
Just to be clear, that wasn't a question, right? So he's not going to answer, but I think he would have taken issue with that statement.
Yes.
Keep your voice up. Keep your
Keep my
voice
voice
up.
up. Yes, sorry.
Continuing on the list I previously brought up,
Yes.
Leslie Groff, what was her role?
She was Mr. Epstein's assistant for a while when he was in jail. She also helped me with some of my legal work.
Can you elaborate on that legal work?
Nothing sticks out in my documents copied or if I wanted to send an email to somebody, I would tell her to please send an email to somebody.
So you're just referring to administrative work.
Correct.
Did you socialize with Miss Groff outside of work?
Ms. Groff also was invited to my kid's bat mitzvah, and I believe that Ms. Groff went to that one dinner, with when one of the workers in our office was leaving. But beyond that, no. And so that's the extent of my socialization.
Who is Sarah Kellen?
Sarah Kellen, to my knowledge, was one of Jeffrey Epstein's assistants.
And what were your interactions with Miss Kellen?
From time to time, Sarah Kellen would relate a request. Nothing comes to my mind about what request that Jeffrey had relating to someone who, as I understand it, was doing interior design work for Epstein. Epstein had a lot of properties, as we know, and was constantly redecorating and changing them. And Sarah was doing a lot of the procuring and for the decorating that he was doing on those properties. And I believe the entity that she did it through was an entity, her business was Sarah SLK Designs, I think it's something like that it was called.
Did you create that entity?
I don't recall, but it is possible.
Did you socialize with Miss Kellen outside of work?
No,
Who is Karina Shuliak?
I have come to know Karina ultimately as somebody who was a girlfriend of Mr. Epstein. But I did not have that realization until, I want to say, 2015, 2016, around there.
And we discussed her in the context of one of the alleged sham marriages.
I was not aware that it was a sham marriage. I'm still not sure that it's a sham marriage, but she was one of the people that was married. Yes.
But you came to learn that Mr. Epstein had a romantic relationship with Karina after this marriage?
So the word romantic is for me is kind of loaded. I understood her to be his girlfriend, whatever that meant, and I didn't know what that meant. I don't know what his actual intimate relationship with her was.
Did you socialize with Ms. Juliak outside of your official role?
No,
We talked about Ms. Groff, Ms. Kellen, and Ms. Juliak. You understood all of them to be assistants of Mr. Epstein. Is that right?
say it again, Ms. Groff, Ms. Kellen, and Ms. Juliak.
You're right.
Yes, and Sarah, as I explained, Sarah also did decorating and design work for them.
Was Nadia Marcinkova an assistant?
To the same extent that I don't know what that meant, I understood at some point, I became aware that Nadia was a girlfriend of Epstein's, but she was also an assistant.
When did you meet Nadia Marcinkova?
If you had something to show me, I could tell you, but I don't recall when I met her.
You may not recall when you met her, but do you know how old she may have been when you met her?
She was well above the age of 18. I guess I should take this point. I have heard stories referred to her as a child sex slave or something like that. And I will tell you that I do not believe that to be true. I don't think that was true. And as part of the defense counsel's kind of disclosures to federal and state governments in connection with the Epstein investigation, they made it clear that that wasn't true.
In his 2019 indictment, you're familiar with the allegations.
If you have a specific allegation,
2005, he was accused of engaging in sex trafficking, human trafficking. If you were on the jury and that had gone to trial, would you vote to convict him, given all of your information you have?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
You were on the jury and gone to trial.
I'm sorry, for which?
For 2002, 2005,
Uh-huh.
the indictment that you probably have read. If that went to trial and you were on the jury, would you have been in favor of convicting him for the charges?
Based upon what I knew then, the answer would have been no.
What about now?
I don't know.
$750 million been paid in settlements, close. And you don't know whether
$750 million.
working towards Bank America, Bank America.
Yeah.
I mean, so, okay, that was helpful.
I don't know.
Mr. Indyke, I want to return back to, I characterize those women as assistants.
Mhm.
What would you, and I'm about to ask more questions related to Mr. Epstein's various assistants. Characterization of some of these women as his assistants?
To the extent that I knew what their role was, they appeared to me to be assistants. They appeared to be taking messages for him, making travel plans for him, running errands for him. So they appeared to me to be assistants.
In the time that you worked for Mr. Epstein, roughly how many assistants did he have?
I don't know. I go through them if you want.
As his corporate attorney, did you advise him on employment matters related to their hiring?
Typically, no.
Were all of his assistants female?
Office assistants, I would say yes, but he did employ people to assist him with like architectural stuff I can think of one person that was, at least one person that was a man. His chefs were, largely men. Household staff there were men as well as women. So I think the answer is no. Personal assistance in the sense of, you know, taking messages and getting coffee, and things like that, I would say yes, except to the extent there was overlap with household functions like, you know, bringing meals and things like that.
What percent of the women lived at 301 East 66th Street?
I don't know.
And you don't know what percent of his assistants lived at 301 East 66th Street?
So my office was in one apartment in a 150 unit building. I was not in the accounting office. To the extent that Epstein provided apartments to those people, that's not something I did. So the answer is no.
The answer is you don't know.
Yeah, right. The answer is I don't. Well, I was answering your other question. The answer is I don't know. Correct.
Did you find it suspicious that his personal assistants were women?
No. In my experience, and my exposure to other men in the business world, oftentimes the assistants were women. Even in the lawyers, the assistants were women.
You didn't find it suspicious that the guy that just went to prison for prostitution of a minor had 7 different female assistants and had a very strange situation surrounding all of them? That's not suspicious?
There's a lot to unpack there. So
The guy that just went to prison for,
if I can answer the question, I'd like to answer the question. The guy just went to prison, was registered as a sex offender. He was under intense scrutiny. So no, I didn't think that if he had women, also he was under intense scrutiny and there was publicity about him. So no, I never made the assumption that women were working for him, were engaged in a sexual relationship with him. And I never believed that he would be engaging in conduct, which with all the scrutiny on him, could put him back in the place where he said he was never going to go to.
How were these assistants compensated?
I assume they were paid by check or you know, either as indemnities.
To be clear, did you ever provide cash payments to Epstein's assistants?
Not that I recall, no.
Did you ever witness Mr. Epstein giving cash to his assistants?
For their personal payment? I think the answer is no, not that I recall. Is it possible that I was in a room where he handed cash to them in order to tip somebody who showed up or to pay for a particular thing that he asked them to get? That's possible. I don't have a specific recollection, but it's certainly possible.
Did you ever witness Mr. During the previous hour, I believe you testified that you visited Zorro Ranch. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And how many times did you visit Zorro Ranch?
2 or 3 times.
What were the nature of your visits to the ranch?
Usually if I'm visiting a property and I believe in this instance, it had to do with some kind of ice on property. Oh, and there was one other time, now that I'm thinking about it, when my family and I took a vacation out in New Mexico. Epstein wasn't there at the time, but my family and I visited the ranch just to see it.
Did you visit the Palm Beach residence?
I did.
How many times did you visit that residence?
Well, after he was in jail, when I went to see him in jail, I actually stayed at the Palm Beach residence in one of the rooms, one of the bedrooms.
And how long did you reside at that residence?
I didn't reside at the residence. I stayed in the residence. When I would go visit him, I would go there for a day, stay overnight, and come back to New York, New Jersey.
Did you visit his residence in Paris?
I visited the residence in Paris once, when I was on a family trip when he wasn't there. I think once when he was there for, I don't remember, it was a business related trip and I don't remember the nature of the business. It was quite some time ago.
Was Mr. Epstein present?
He was there, yeah.
Who else was present?
Daldson, his valet, and one personal assistant, I don't remember who. But it was somebody who was his personal assistant at the time.
Recognizing that you just testified, you don't recall why you visited Paris with Mr. Epstein. Is it possible that it may have been related to meeting with Jean-Luc Brunel?
No,
And for the record, do you know Jean-Luc Brunel?
I did interact with Jean-Luc Brunel on probably a handful of occasions, yes.
What were the nature of your interactions with Mr. Brunel?
Brunel had traveled to the office one or two times. I understand that he and Epstein were social acquaintances. So when I was visiting Epstein, for whatever reasons I was visiting Epstein, I would see him. As it relates to MC Squared had some kind of a payroll tax issue, if I recall. And in connection with that payroll tax issue, there was some kind of a letter of credit, I think, with him and with his staff. I think it was an accountant or controller, with respect to that issue and Epstein providing some security for the letter of credit.
Did you socialize with Mr. Brunel outside of?
I did not socialize with Mr. Brunel outside.
And you mentioned,
Period, not outside of it. I didn't socialize with
you mentioned the entity, and I do not have my notes in front of me, but what was that entity?
MC squared.
MC Squared was a modeling agency. And to my knowledge, it was a legitimate modeling agent. And so that was an agency that I believe he was a principal of.
Did you have any role in organizing that modeling agency?
I recall that I did the I don't know if it was the corporation or the LLC, the incorporation work, or had something to do with the incorporation work.
What was Mr. Epstein's role with the agency?
I don't know that he had a role. I don't know that he was I'm pretty sure he wasn't a principal of MC Squared.
During the time that you knew Mr. Epstein, did he ever represent himself to be a talent scout for models?
Not in my presence, no.
Did you ever subsequently learn that he represented himself to be a Victoria's Secret model scout?
Through allegations in legal papers.
What did you think of those allegations?
I didn't know what to think.
As far as the resident or the properties that Mr. Epstein owned that you said you visited, and correct me if I'm wrong, Palm Beach, Manhattan, New Mexico, and Paris, did you have keys or security access to any of these properties?
No,
At any time, did you have office space inside any of these properties?
no,
Did you observe any massage tables?
after he died, when we did a tour of the New York, I think it was the co-executive, Rach Collin. We did a tour of that property, and I believe I saw a massage table there.
So then, just for the record, can you be clear that before he died?
Before he died, I did not see any massage tables.
You never, during your representation, were you ever a part of any purchases of massage tables or equipment?
No,
It's been reported, and we've seen from the Epstein Files Transparency Act that Mr. Epstein had weird taste in artwork, and many of his properties had portrayed nudity. Did you notice any unusual artwork when you visited the properties?
I saw, there's the blue dress that everybody refers to in the press. I had seen that in the New York property in the control room where the security person was located. I've seen that in that room. I remember seeing eyeballs, glass eyeballs. And I forget which house that was in, but it was glass eyeballs. They was hung in a frame and hung up. But that was kind of an odd thing. I remember in the New York townhouse, when you walked in on your way to go to the dining room, there was a rope with, I think, like an acrobatic woman dangling from the rope. So that struck me as kind of an odd piece of art. He had an American flag on the dining room table at some point. I think that was art. I don't know.
Did you ever discuss any of those art choices with Mr. Epstein?
No, my relationship with Mr. Epstein was not such where I would have a conversation about artistic tastes.
Real quick, have you heard the phrase, if you can speak it, don't write it, and if you can wink it, don't speak it?
No,
It's a DC phrase people always talk about, not good, but you get the general gist.
I think so. I mean,
Okay.
I think so.
Epstein has a very documented history of putting things in writing that people would generally not want put in writing. It seems intentional, it seems systematic even. Have you followed that at all? Do you realize that the Epstein Transparency Act shows us all these emails and the way that he documents things really intentionally to create, it seems like he's creating leverage. I mean, do you have any insight into
Emails.
why do you think he would document so many things that the people that he was communicating with clearly probably not want that stuff in writing?
I wouldn't speculate. I don't know.
To be clear on the artwork, did you ever see nude photos displayed at Mr. Epstein's properties?
I've seen in inventorying the estate, I've seen there's naked paintings, naked women in paintings. I believe there was a book of nudes, like a photographic book, one of those big kind of coffee table books. I saw something like that. I think I'm trying to remember if it's only because I heard tell of it after the fact, after he died. I don't think I saw anything else.
Did you ever travel on Mr. Epstein's plane?
I've traveled on planes that were owned by Mr. Epstein beneficially, yes.
How many times?
Over the course of 23 years, maybe one a year, maybe less than that, maybe a dozen. I'm not sure, but it was not frequent.
Was Mr. Epstein always present?
On every trip that I went, I think he was present, with the exception of one, when I gone to, I'm not sure if it was DC or Boston with Mr. Epstein on it. I'm sorry. I had gone either to Boston or DC with Mr. Epstein on a day when I had told him that I was celebrating my anniversary with my wife, and he asked me to go nevertheless. And when we came back to Teterboro for that trip, he said I should take my wife to Atlantic City and take the plane. So that was the one time that I did not travel with him.
What were the nature? Was it business related? You were always traveling on his plane?
Every trip that I took with Mr. Epstein was business related on his plane.
It's been alleged that Mr. Epstein would use his plane or would conduct sex parties on his plane. You never witnessed or heard anything related to sex parties on his plane.
I never witnessed any kind of sexual conduct on his plane when I was on the plane.
We're coming to the end of our hour, so I'm going to ask you some questions to close. Have you ever declined to provide legal services for legal or ethical reasons?
No, I don't think that occasion came up.
Have you ever declined to participate in a transaction for legal or ethical reasons?
While I was employed with Epstein declined to participate in transactions that he thought were inappropriate for either legal reasons or that he thought could potentially be scams or frauds. So in that respect, yes. Personally, I never had occasion to make that call.
Have you ever advised a client to not tell you something?
No.
Have you ever advised clients about human trafficking statutes?
In connection with should I answer the question or should I, sorry. In connection with the legal defense team, the team and I
Mr. Indyke, or your lawyers, you discussed this committee's subpoena of documents of the Epstein estate last hour with the ranking member. I believe it was stated that the subpoena is closed out except for items 15 and 16 in the subpoena schedule. Is that correct?
15 has subparts A and B. So one of them is closed out and one of them is not.
I will enter the subpoena and schedule as majority exhibit 4. The subpoena is addressed to the estate of Jeffrey Epstein, care of Darren Indyke and Richard Kahn, and it was sent on August 25th of 2025. Item 15, and I will read it into the record. It requests all documents and communications to or from and or referring or relating to the following individuals. A is numbers 1 through 92 defined by Giuffre versus Maxwell. Plaintiff Virginia Giuffre's 4th revised disclosure pursuant to the federal rules of civil procedure in the Southern District of New York on January 5th of 2024. And B, all presidents and vice presidents of the United States not otherwise listed in request 10A from January 1st, 1990 through August 10th, 2019. Number 16 says all documents and communications referring or relating to the following entities: A, COUQ Foundation, B, NES LLC, C, New York Strategy Group, D, JEGE LLC, E, JEGE Inc., and F, LSJ LLC. My understanding is that the committee council discussed with the estate lawyers the need to further clarify items 15A and 16. I want to be very clear. The committee does not consider 15A or 16 to be closed out, as additional clarification was sought by the estate. The committee intends to provide that clarification, but is first continuing its investigation and review of materials produced by banks and DOJ, which relate to these requests and assist the committee's clarification. And again, to be clear, the estate communicated to us that item 15B is completely closed out, and the estate possesses no additional documents responsive to that request. We can go off the record.
We can go back on the record. Good afternoon, Mr. Indyke.
Good afternoon.
Are you familiar with the Florida Science Foundation?
Yes, I know the Florida Science Foundation.
Okay. Were you involved in setting it up?
The Florida Science Foundation is a trade name, for lack of a better term, of the COUQ Foundation, which was an existing foundation that predated Mr. Epstein's conviction in 2008.
So was there a separate incorporation of the entity that subsequently was known as the Florida Science Foundation, as you just explained it?
I believe that initially, and I'm not sure why it was done, but one of the Florida attorneys formed a separately Florida Science Foundation. But that, I believe that one was never used. I believe the foundation that was in existence was the one that they used.
And you don't have an understanding as to why the Florida Science Foundation was incorporated?
As I'm sitting here today, I think somebody just did it quickly because they knew there was something going to be called the Florida Science Foundation. They didn't, and I don't think that they kind of got direction from anybody and they just did it.
I can represent to you that I've seen articles of incorporation for the Florida Science Foundation that were filed on November 1st of 2007. Does that sound right to you?
Sounds about right, yes.
Okay. And that, to my chronological understanding, was after Jeffrey Epstein was arrested and during his plea negotiations with the U.S. Attorney's Office in Florida. Is that right?
After November 2007 would have been after he was arrested. And what was the second part of the question?
During his plea negotiations with the U.S. Attorney's Office.
I think so, yes.
To your understanding, was the foundation created, whether in whole or in part, to give Jeffrey Epstein a place to perform his work release?
I think the answer to that question is, I believe that Epstein wanted work release. I believe that he wanted, during his work release, to do the scientific work that he was doing. He was an avid supporter of scientific research and academic research. And I believe that he wanted to continue that work if he were to get work release. And so I think in anticipation of that, though, I think it was a Florida law firm that, I think it was a Florida entity. The one that was incorporated was a Florida entity, is that right?
That is my understanding.
I believe the Florida law firm just set it up without kind of discussing that with him in detail. And then once the conversation ensued further, I believe that it was determined that the foundation that was already doing that kind of work, like the COUQ Foundation was, should be the foundation that's doing it in Florida.
I understand that the foundation had offices at 250 Australian Avenue in West Palm Beach. Is that accurate?
I believe that sounds right, yes.
Were you ever present in those offices?
I was in those offices. I wasn't stationed in those offices. My office was up north and was on work release. And I would come down and have kind of the status conversation as to what's going on with the transactions that I've been working on. It would be at that office.
How often did that happen?
I don't recall sitting here today.
More than 10?
Is there for, yeah, I mean, that's probably true.
During any of those visits, did you see any women present in the offices?
I believe there was a personal assistant present. I don't remember which one.
Did you ever become aware of Epstein sexually abusing women in those offices?
I became aware. I'm not sure if the allegation happened after he died, but I became aware of the allegation after the fact that he did.
Did any woman ever tell you that she had been sexually abused by Epstein while he was on work release?
No.
Did any woman ever ask for your help in connection with sexual abuse by Epstein?
No. And just the idea that was taking place, I'm not saying it didn't, but it would have surprised me because when Epstein was on work release, there was a deputy sitting in the front desk. And the office wasn't that big, so that would have surprised me if that was going on.
When you say deputy, you mean law
It's
enforcement?
like a law enforcement, a deputy sheriff.
Did you at any time ever tell any woman making allegations about Epstein not to communicate with law enforcement? Did you visit Epstein in prison in Florida?
I did.
What was the reason for those visits?
The reasons for those visits is that while he was in jail, there were 5 properties. There was construction going on properties. There were investments that were outstanding at the time. There were things going on that required.
Thank you, Mr. Indyke. My name is Jack Emmer, and I am the Chief Counsel for Investigations for Chairman Comer. Under the Committee on Oversight and Government position, do you have a counsel representing you in a personal capacity present with you today?
I do.
Will counsel please identify themselves for the record?
Mark Weinstein from Hughes, Hubbard and Reed.
Daniel Weiner, also from Hughes, Hubbard and Reed.
Thank you. Now, starting with the majority staff, can the additional staff members please introduce themselves with their name, title, and affiliation?
Billy Grant, Deputy Chief Counsel for Investigations for Chairman Comer.
Peter Spector, Deputy Director of Oversight for Chairman Comer. Daniel Ashworth, General Counsel for Chairman Comer.
Ryan Giacchetti, Chief Counsel for Chairman Comer.
Will Harness, Professional Staff for Chairman Comer.
Ellison Tolan, Counsel for Chairman Comer. Brittany Bergman, Senior Counsel for Chairman Comer. Emily Feyerabend, Counsel for Chairman Comer. Will Papley, Professional Staff for Chairman Comer.
Jack Furla, Counsel for Chairman Comer. Melvin Soto, Digital Director for Chairman Comer.
Thank you all. Mr. Indyke, before we begin, I would like to go over the ground rules for this deposition. The questioning will proceed in rounds. The majority will ask questions for an hour, and then the minority will have an opportunity to ask questions for an hour if they choose. To the extent members have questions for the witness, they will be propounded during their side's respective rounds. The clock will stop if you need to confer with counsel. Your counsel is speaking, and when members or staff are speaking during the opposing side's rounds of questions. We will alternate back and forth until there are no more questions. Do you understand?
I do.
There is a court reporter taking down everything I say and everything you say to make a written record of the deposition. For the record to be clear, please wait until the staffer questioning you finishes each question before you begin your answer, and the staffer will wait until you finish your response before proceeding to the next question. Further, to ensure the court reporter can properly record this deposition, Please speak clearly, concisely, and slowly. Also, the court reporter cannot record nonverbal answers such as nodding or shaking your head. So it is important that you answer each question with an audible verbal answer. Do you understand?
I do.
Exhibits may be entered into the record. Majority exhibits will be identified numerically. Minority exhibits will be identified alphabetically. Do you understand?
I do.
We want you to answer our questions in the most complete and truthful manner possible, so we will take our time. If you have any questions or do not fully understand the question, please let us know. We will attempt to clarify, add context to, or rephrase our questions. If we ask about specific conversations or events in the past and you are unable to recall the exact words or details, you should testify to the substance of those conversations or events to the best of your recollection. If you recall only a part of a conversation or event, you should give us your best recollection of those events or parts of conversations that you do recall. Do you understand?
I understand.
You are required by law to answer questions from Congress truthfully. This also applies to questions posed by congressional staff in this deposition. Do you understand?
I do.
If at any time you knowingly make false statements, you could be subject to criminal prosecution, including but not limited to perjury. Do you understand?
I do.
This includes both knowingly providing false testimony, but also stating that you do not recall or remember something when in fact you do. Do you understand?
I do.
Furthermore, you cannot tell half-truths or exclude information necessary to make statements accurate. You are required to provide all information that would make your response truthful. A deliberate failure to disclose information can constitute a false statement. Do you understand?
I do.
Is there any reason you are unable to provide truthful testimony in today's interview?
No.
Please note, if you wish to assert a privilege over any statement today, that assertion must comply with the rules of the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform. Pursuant to that, Committee Rule 16C1 states, for the chair to consider assertions of privilege over testimony or statements, witnesses or entities must clearly state the specific privilege being asserted and the reason for the assertion on or before the scheduled date of testimony or appearance. For the purposes of this deposition, objections must be stated concisely in a non-argumentative and non-suggestive manner. If the witness refuses to answer a question to preserve a privilege, the committee may seek a ruling from the chair. If the chair overrules any such objection, the witness shall be ordered to answer. If the witness continues to refuse to answer a question despite being ordered to do so, the witness may be subject to sanction. Do you understand?
I do.
Ordinarily, we take a 5-minute break at the end of each hour of questioning. But if you need a longer break or a break before that, please let us know and we will be happy to accommodate. However, to the extent there is a pending question, we would ask that you finish answering the question before we take the break. Do you understand?
I do.
Finally, I will note for everyone here today that the contents of what we discuss in the deposition today is confidential under the House deposition regulation. Under the rules, the chairman and ranking minority members shall consult before any release of testimony or transcripts, including portions thereof. This means it is a violation of House and committee rules to disclose the content of the deposition prior to its official release. For this reason, the marked exhibits that we will use today will remain with the court reporter so that they can go into the official transcript, and any copies of those exhibits will be kept at the table or returned to us when we finish. Can the reporter please swear in the witness?
Here's your right hand. Do you solemnly declare or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Do you have any questions before we begin?
I do not.
We understand that you have an opening statement that you would like to read into the record.
I do, if I may.
You may.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to thank the committee for working with the Epstein estate over the past 6+ months. As a co-executor of the estate, I have done my very best to cooperate with the committee and to respond to the committee's requests for documents, photographs, and other information relating to Jeffrey Epstein. As you know, the estate produced voluminous materials in response to the committee's subpoena and communicated regularly with both the committee's majority and minority staffs on the timing, scope, and content of the estate's responses. My appearance here today, as with my co-executor's testimony before the committee last week, represents our continuing cooperation with the committee's efforts to investigate matters regarding Mr. Epstein. In addition, since we were appointed in 2019 by the United States Virgin Islands Probate Court as co-executors of Mr. Epstein's estate, we have fully cooperated with the U.S. Department of Justice's investigation of Epstein-related matters. I'd also like to note the extensive efforts that my co-executor and I have made to address the wrongs committed by Mr. Epstein during his lifetime. At our direction, the estate initiated, developed, and funded the Epstein Victims Compensation Program, the first of its kind established by an estate, which provided a private, voluntary, and non-confrontational means to compensate women who suffered sexual abuse by Mr. Epstein. Independently administered by preeminent figures in the field of victims compensation, the EV 36 women, all of which the estate funded, pursuant to our express direction that 1, there was to be no cap on monies awarded, either individually or in the aggregate, and 2, even women whose claims were time barred or who had previously signed releases could participate. The estate total of more than $48 million, including the recently proposed settlement in a putative class action lawsuit filed in 2024 on behalf of all women abused by Mr. Epstein, a settlement that the court preliminary approved earlier this month. My co-executor and I have authorized payment by the Epstein estate of more than $200 million to women who assert they were abused or trafficked by Mr. Epstein. Let me be clear. I had no knowledge whatsoever of Jeffrey Epstein's wrongdoings. My complete lack of involvement in that misconduct is a matter of record. Not a single woman has ever accused me of committing sexual abuse or witnessing sexual abuse, nor claimed at any time that she or anyone else reported to me any allegation of Mr. Epstein's abuse. I did not socialize with Epstein, and I reject as categorically false any suggestion that I knowingly facilitated or assisted Mr. Epstein in his sexual abuse or trafficking of women, or that I was aware of his actions while I provided legal services to him. Far from being Mr. Epstein's lieutenant or chief of staff, as I have been incorrectly described by plaintiffs' lawyers and uninformed journalists, I was one of many attorneys Mr. Epstein regularly consulted for entirely legitimate purposes. My primary role was to provide corporate, transactional, and general legal services to Mr. Epstein and his companies, and yes, I did so. The press and plaintiffs' counsel have mischaracterized cash withdrawals I made from Mr. Epstein's bank accounts from 2013 to 2017. Entirely ignored in that reporting is the fact that the bank involved knew full well that these accounts belonged to Mr. Epstein. Neither I nor he made any effort to disguise his name or identity. And as part of its standard policy, the bank itself imposed a $7,500 limit on daily cash withdrawals. I was not attempting to structure such withdrawals to avoid federal reporting requirements. Quite the contrary, I simply sought to comply with the bank's internal requirements and limits, with the bank's full knowledge. It is undisputed that during this time, Mr. Epstein had difficulty accessing credit cards from major banks. Instead, he and his staff required cash to pay for a wide variety of expenses, including maintenance, repairs, and daily household needs for his residential properties in New York, Florida, New Mexico, Paris, and the USVI, as well as meals, gifts, gratuities, and fuel for his private aircraft. For a person of Mr. Epstein's financial position, with 5 multi-million-dollar residences, staffed by dozens of employees, and with an extensive travel itinerary, it did not strike me as unusual that Mr. Epstein's business, household, and personal needs required large amounts of cash on a regular basis. I never believed that the cash I withdrew from Mr. Epstein and his staff was used by Mr. Epstein or his staff for any improper purposes. There have also been allegations of my supposed involvement in facilitating forced or sham marriages between women in Mr. Epstein's life. Those allegations too are 100% untrue. I did not arrange, assist, or facilitate any marriages between acquaintances of Mr. Epstein, nor was I aware in advance that such marriages took place. Same-sex marriage has been legal in New York since 2011 with this passage of the Marriage Equality Act. I did not consider it appropriate to interrogate anyone as to the reasons for their decisions to marry or the bona fides of their relationships. I don't mean in any way to condone or excuse Mr. Epstein's reprehensible conduct. Quite the opposite, I condemn it wholeheartedly. Had I known that he was abusing or trafficking women, I would have quit working for him at once and severed all ties to him. The truth is that I did not know what Mr. Epstein did after hours, what he did behind closed doors, and what he did in places where I was not present. I first met Epstein in 1996 when he was already a highly successful businessman. After he pled guilty in 2008 to procuring a person under the age of 18 for prostitution, Mr. Epstein appeared to me to be devastated and extremely contrite. He was adamant that he had no idea that anyone involved was underage, and personally assured me that he would never again let himself be in that position. I believed him, and I made the mistake of believing that Mr. Epstein would not again commit a crime. I deeply regret doing so. Most importantly, I feel horrible for the women whom Mr. Epstein abused. While my professional associates, I don't expect the members of the committee or of the public to feel sympathy for me. But I am left trying to explain what many people who knew Jeffrey Epstein have noted after his death. He led two entirely separate lives, his professional one and the other, a private, personal one that caused many others to suffer. That I did not know what my client did in his private life may be difficult for some to believe, but it's true. Thank you.
Starting with the majority, may all individuals, members, and staff who have since joined us since the beginning, please announce themselves for the record.
James Comer, Chairman from Kentucky.
Andy Biggs, Congressman, Arizona 5.
William Timmons, South House, 4th Congressional District.
Dave Mann, 147.
James Long, Virginia 11.
Thank you. The time reads 10:22 and the majority's time will begin now. Mr. Indyke, let's begin by discussing your education and experience. Where did you attend undergraduate school?
Colgate University,
And what degree did you graduate with?
a degree in education and economics,
What year did you graduate?
1986,
And where did you attend law school?
Cornell Law School,
And when did you graduate law school?
1991,
When were you admitted to practice law?
1992,
In what states were you admitted?
New York, initially.
And where have you since been admitted?
In 2019, I was admitted to practice law in the state of Florida.
Is your license currently in good standing?
I believe my licenses in both New York and Florida are in good stand.
Can you briefly go through your professional career up until now?
Sure. When I graduated Cornell Law School, I worked for the law firm of Golden Wachtel. I did that until I think it was 1994. In 1995, I joined the law firm of Greenberg Traurig in New York City. I worked there until sometime in 1996, towards the beginning of 1996, at which point I was asked by someone who was a former partner at Golden Wachtel to go work for him and with him to represent Jeffrey Epstein and his company. And since then, I have been working to represent primarily Jeffrey Epstein, both as an employee and then subsequently in my capacity as a law firm, my own law firm.
Prior to your employment with Mr. Epstein, what areas of law did you practice?
Corporate securities and trademark law.
When did you first meet Jeffrey Epstein?
Sometime in 1996, towards the beginning of 1996.
And Mr. Indyke, I understand that you're hard of hearing, so we're going to try to speak up, but if you could also speak up as well for everyone in the room.
Sure.
So let's begin again. When did you first meet Jeffrey Epstein?
It was, I believe, towards the beginning of 1996,
Where did you meet him?
at his office in New York City.
And why did you meet him at that time?
Prior to my meeting Mr. Epstein, the partner that I worked for at Golden Rockefeller had asked me to come work with him to represent Mr. Epstein. He wanted me to meet Mr. Epstein in his office, so I did so.
And for the record, I missed this. Who else was present during this meeting?
I don't recall, it was many years ago. That partner may have been there. So it would have been him and Mr. Epstein. I think. I don't recall anybody else.
And what did you discuss with Mr. Epstein at this time?
I can't recall specifically, but basically he asked me questions about my background, my corporate and securities background, about the work I did at Golden Rockefeller and the work I did at Greenberg Traurig. Told me I'd be doing similar work for him.
Prior to meeting Mr. Epstein, what did you know about him?
Very little. When I worked at Golden Rockefeller, I understood that he was a client of Golden Rockefeller. And I understood that the partner that I worked for at Golden Rockefeller had done some work with him along with one of the named partners, Bob Gold. But that's the extent of what I knew about it.
And what you testified to was all related to his business. Did he have any reputation outside of his business as it related to young women or girls at this time?
Not that I knew of.
What were your first impressions of Mr. Epstein?
I was slightly intimidated because he was explained to me to be a very wealthy man. I was not very wealthy, and I was very young at the time. And he was explained to me to be a very successful businessman. My impressions of him was that he was no nonsense. He seemed pleasant enough. Nothing more than that.
What did you understand his job to be at this time?
I understood that I would be providing support and assistance to the partner that brought me in connection with representing Mr. Epstein's business interests.
And you mentioned that
I think, Jack, did you ask, what did you understand his job to be or your job to be?
Mr. Epstein's job.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Forgive me. Mr. Epstein's job, my understanding was that he was a financial consultant for wealthy individuals.
Did you know who his clients?
Just because you mean before he took the job?
Correct. We've had a member join.
Record Jasmine Crockett, Texas 30.
Mr. Indyke, recognizing that we'll discuss more specifics later, can you briefly describe the nature and extent of your relationship with Mr. Epstein?
I was one of Mr. Epstein's many attorneys. My role was primarily a role as a corporate and transactional attorney. My role was to review documents, summarize documents, analyze documents, critique documents, draft documents, in a wide variety of areas. investment documents, private placement memorandums, subscription agreements, option agreements, warrant agreements. Let's see what else. Registration rights agreements, stock purchase agreements, rights of first refusal agreements, all of those in the kind of side letters for investments, all of those in the investment field. There were times when my role was to review the trading confirmations, and to the extent there were documents required as a precursor to the trading, like interest swap agreements, things like that, I would review the interest swap agreements. To the extent that I had any comments on those, I would give my comments on those agreements. If Epstein was going to buy or sell a business, there were times when I would be required to draft basic business agreements or letters of intent, or if he was, or review a purchase agreement or a sale agreement, and then critique it and summarize it and provide any evaluation of it. Epstein had aircraft, and his client had aircraft. I was involved as an attorney in connection with the acquisition and sale of aircraft, fixed wing aircraft, helicopters, rotorcraft, both new builds from manufacturers like Sikorsky, and sometimes when they were resales of the aircraft. Also, there was lots of real estate that was being acquired and sold during this time. So I would work with local counsel. If it wasn't in New York, for example, I would work, and sometimes even if it was, I would work with local real estate counsel in the acquisition or sale of real estate, anything from large acreage ranches to islands to townhouses to apartments to homes, any number of parcels of real estate. And in connection with some of the real estate that was acquired, there was a lot of construction going on during the course of my representation. And that construction would require architects and design. So I would review AIA architectural and design agreements, again, summarize, critique, evaluate. I would review proposals, just to make sure that the proposals for any particular building or design were incorporated all of what I understood to be the kind of the roles or the program for the building that was to be done. There was construction management agreements that had to be reviewed, general contractor agreements that had to be reviewed. Sometimes liens would come up. So all of that, those things would have to be reviewed. From time to time, when a new asset like an aircraft or a helicopter or even a large boat would be acquired, a new entity would be formed for that asset, because that asset was a large, tended to be as an aircraft. Aircrafts can fall out of the sky. They could cause serious damage. So kind of asset, you put that asset in a separate entity. So other assets held by the person can't be subject to the liability that is created by that asset. The same holds true for, it's kind of normal operating procedure, particularly for people in high net worth situations, when you would take on a new investment, or there would be an investment program, you would form a separate entity for that investment program. For new businesses, because you didn't form an entity for that new business. So part of what I did is, either if it was some place that in a jurisdiction where I was admitted and I knew of a corporate service company to do it, I would have the corporate service company form the entity. If not, I would have a local attorney do the same. So we did those things. just kind of the type of things sometimes were very, very cool. There was that required connecting one of Epstein's islands, because he had two, that island to the St. Thomas mainland. And that required the manufacture of a 15 kV cable with fiber optic capabilities by this Italian manufacturer. So I would have to work on that agreement with the manufacturer. And then we'd have to do, I'd have to work on a separate agreement for the installation of that cable across the span from St. Thomas mainland to the island. And then you'd have to work on the local to step down the cable, all the work that the electrical contractors had to do to connect the cable to the island. And then there was also permitting that I had to work with local council who handled the permitting, and local environmental consultants to do the permitting to lay the cable on the ocean bed. So lots of different things like that. There was yes.
I just have a couple of questions related to working in-house essentially for Mr. Epstein. Is that correct?
No, it was a number of attorneys that Mr. Epstein engaged.
Okay, so how many were actually working in-house?
At which time, sir?
Give me an example. Early on.
Early on, 3 attorneys.
And then as time went on?
2 attorneys. And then ultimately, nobody was working in-house. Ultimately, he was using outside counsel.
When you had the 3 attorneys, are you one of those 3?
I was one of the 3
You
attorneys.
got down to 2, obviously you were one of
I was still, yes, one of the attorneys there.
Okay, and then you continued on until
I continued on with the other attorney. I was there, but the other attorney formed an entity to serve Epstein and other clients, and I worked for that entity, and I was a junior member of that entity. And then ultimately, I formed my own law firm.
did you have any associates in that law firm or partners?
No,
You sole proprietor?
I was.
Thank you.
Sure.
We've had more members and staff join. Can they please announce themselves for the record?
Sure. Robert Garcia, I'm the ranking member for Oversight Democrats. Road Conduct, California 17.
Yasmin Asari, Arizona.
I want to stick with asking general questions to start. So during the course of your representing Mr. Epstein, how often did you communicate with him?
Towards the beginning, infrequently. I mean, I saw him from time to time. I spoke to him from time to time, but mostly his communications were with the partner that I worked with. And then the partner that I worked with would speak to me about assignments that I had specifically. Over time, I would have some interactions with him. I would get direct assignments from Mr. Epstein.
And you mentioned the partner, that's the same partner you referenced before.
Yeah, it's the partner who kind of asked me to come and join him representing Mr. Epstein.
For the record, what was his name?
His name was Jeffrey Shantz.
And how would you typically communicate with Epstein?
At which time?
During the course of your relationship?
Okay, so kind of multifaceted. Sometimes I would get messages. Sometimes I would get a communication through the partner. Sometimes he would be in the office and I would meet with him for 2 minutes, not a lot of FaceTime. And get a specific assignment. And then sometimes I would get a message from his assistant saying something that Epstein wanted from me. And towards the later end, I would meet with him when he no longer had an office in New York. towards the later end, I would meet with him. I would meet with him on the ground floor in the dining room of his residence.
You meet with him at the residence.
It really depends when. So, towards the beginning, not at all. As time went on, once a month, sometimes twice a month. If he was in town and there was a transaction going on, could have been more, but typically it was about twice a month.
How long would your meetings last when you would visit his residence?
Typically an hour or so, maybe two, most.
Who typically would be present?
That's there is no kind of typical thing about who would be present. It really depended on the transaction and the specific matter that was, or matters that I was meeting with him about.
And I can hear you just fine, but there's a lot of people in the room that are struggling to hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry. However much you can speak up.
Okay.
Very helpful.
Yes.
But I just want to focus on who was present. There are women that have been identified and deemed as assistants of Mr. Epstein. Do you recall them being present at these meetings?
I recall women coming into the meeting, delivering a message to him, sometimes bringing some food to him. But generally, his personal assistants were not in the meetings.
And you mentioned that early on you'd have meetings at your office, and then it seemed that it became more common that you'd meet at the residence. When did the shift occur?
I think it was 1998 when Mr. Epstein moved his residence, his primary residence, to the U.S. Virgin Islands, and his business to the U.S. Virgin Islands. So he no longer maintained an office in New York. And so when he came to New York, the requirement was to meet at his residence.
I'm going to ask you a general question here. What were the nature of your communications with Mr. Epstein?
Can you rephrase the question?
What were the nature of your communications with Mr. Epstein?
I'm trying to understand. That's very general, and I don't really know.
Were the nature of your communications always related to the furnishing of legal services?
Yes.
So for the record, did you ever have any communications with Mr. Epstein related to young women or girls?
No, absolutely not.
How would you characterize your relationship with Mr. Epstein?
It was strictly a business relationship, strictly a legal relationship.
For the record, at any point, did you consider Mr. Epstein to be a friend?
No.
Did you ever spend time with Mr. Epstein apart from your duties as his attorney?
I never socialized with Mr. Epstein. I never spent any time with Mr. Epstein other than when I was there for a status report or a legal project for Mr. Epstein.
Did you ever consider Epstein to be a mentor?
I did initially. And I could tell you a little story about that. When I first started working for Epstein, I got this assignment. I can't remember the transaction that I was working on, but I got this agreement, and he told me I needed to get it reviewed and critiqued, and I mark it up. Is the word they use. Mark it up and give me your comments to it. I think I had 24 hours to do it. So I went back to my office, spent a very long time in my office, probably till like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock that night, marking the thing up. And when I gave it to him, it was full of red. It's completely red. And I thought I'd done a fabulous job in marking up an agreement and showing all the ways the agreement was defective. So I have a transaction that I have to get done within the next week. this is never going to, first of all, I don't know what's real, what's not real here, what's important, what's not important here. I can never get a transaction done if this is what I have to do. So now take this back and go find me the 10 most important things and rank them in order of importance to me. And I learned a huge lesson from that. And he taught me about being a practical lawyer, not just, a lawyer that's finding every possible theoretical kind of loophole in an agreement. So in that respect, I thought he was very helpful. And so that's types of things to, don't guess at things that I don't know, tell them what I don't know, tell them what I do know. And if I don't know, tell them I don't know. Those are the types of things that he taught me to do as a lawyer, which were helpful to other people that I was working with as a lawyer.
Mr. Indyke, that's helpful advice. You don't be just technically proficient to help facilitate the deal. But when you were working with him, you never sat down and had a drink, never sat down and smoked a cigar with him.
No,
Never.
Two things. He doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, but that wasn't our relationship.
You didn't ever say, come on to having a cocktail party after work, come on, nothing like that.
I was never invited to a single dinner party that he had a few.
Thank you.
Did you ever ask Mr. Epstein for personal favors?
Let's see how to answer that question. I asked him for help when I was, I think it's my first year or so. Sorry, my first year or so when I worked for him. I don't remember the exact time period. My wife and I were having fertility issues. Infertility treatments were quite expensive and they weren't covered by insurance. So I had asked him if it was possible for me to forego the insurance. And in lieu of the amount of money that he was paying for insurance at the time, if I could take that money and apply it towards the cost of infertility treatments. And at that time, his response to me was, absolutely not. You should keep your medical insurance and I will pay for your infertility treatment. Subsequent to that, it didn't work. And it didn't work, I think, 4 other times. Subsequent to that, without me having to ask, he would tell me, when are we doing the next one? And so Epstein paid for all of our infertility treatments until we were.
This time I'd like to introduce what will be marked as Majority Exhibit 3. And this is a letter sent in 2008 by Mr. Epstein's criminal defense lawyers to prosecutors in Florida when Epstein was under investigations for crimes committed against minors. This is a compilation of statements from various employees of Mr. Epstein, all attesting to his good character. This document is base number EFTA 2857458. And I would like to direct your attention to page 13. We're specifically looking at the bottom, and page 14, and I will give you a moment to review. So page 13.
Thank you.
Okay.
And for the record, we're reviewing the italicized portion. Did you write this, Mr. Indyke?
I believe I did.
And why did you contribute a statement for this? The filing?
I'm trying to, let's see what this is for. To contribute a statement for him.
So there's a part where you mentioned that Mr. Epstein had provided emotional and financial support. Is that in reference to what you previously described as help for infertility issues?
Yes.
And for the record, again, why did Jeffrey Epstein offer to pay for these services?
I can't tell you what was in his own mind. I can tell you my perception was that he was being generous to me. He didn't really know me very long, and there was no kind of obvious benefit to him at that stage in my career with him. So I guess he was being generous. I will say this, that, you know, in the years that followed, he did this kind of thing for other employees, friends, acquaintances. He appeared to be generous. He appeared to understand that his money could do good things, and he appeared to use his money to do things like that for people.
Did he provide you any other support besides the infertility support?
Can you be more specific in terms of a time frame?
Well, we're looking at this character reference around this time, 2008.
No, but you know, that was a big deal, obviously. It was a very difficult time for my wife and I. And it was very meaningful to me to have that support.
We've had another member of Congress join. Can she please identify herself for the record?
I'm Congresswoman Melanie Stansbury from New Mexico.
Mr. Indyke,
Yes.
it's a poignant letter that you wrote here. Did you see in the whole packet that was submitted as the defense for Mr. Epstein before it was submitted?
I don't recall.
Were you aware what the charges were pending? At the time that you wrote your.
I'm trying to remember when this statement was written. It was kind of fluid at that time.
Well, you knew that there was some kind of criminal allegation against him, which is why there was a criminal defense attorney that was asking you to write the letter, right?
Yes, there were criminal allegations against.
You know the allegation.
Again, it depends at what time we're talking about. My understanding.
Again, can you please speak up for the mic? So yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Mr. Indyke.
No, my apologies. I'm sorry, I'm not speaking loud enough. My understanding basically that the allegations against him at the time, I think at the time that this was going on, you know, forgive me, it was a while ago, but I think the allegations at that time, this is the state investigation in Palm Beach, were that there were massages at his house. Some of those massages wound up sexual in nature, and that at times it wound up being the case that there were some underage women there in the massages.
So you understood that those were the allegations or the nub of the charges at the time you wrote your letter.
I did understand that those were the allegations, but if I could.
But I just want to ask one other question. You wrote the letter, criminal defense attorney asked you to write the letter. Did you ever discuss the charges with Mr. Epstein before you wrote your statement?
No.
You never talked to him once about these allegations before, even though you just described somewhat of what you knew about him. You did not discuss that with him at all before you wrote a good character reference.
To the extent that there were discussions with Epstein, they were always in the presence of defense counsel. There were many lawyers there, and I was a member of that group. So I never had a personal conversation with him like that, like the one that you're suggesting.
And during those conversations, I assume that Mr. Epstein wasn't mute. He was speaking perhaps about the charge.
So, well, a couple of things. I want to talk to you about them, but I will say this. I have a balance of privilege here, but I also don't want it to be that I'm trying to withhold anything from you. So at the time that this was going on, what I was learning from the defense people who were investigating it was that the investigation was full of allegations that were in many ways untrue, contradicted by recorded, transcribed statements from the witnesses. What I understood from the attorneys was that the police investigation was flawed and somehow either biased, or there was or the facts of that investigation as described in the police report were inconsistent with recorded statements from the witnesses, omitted information that the witnesses gave them in recorded statements. There was even, if I recall, there was even in the police report reference to a trash pull where the police report indicated that they found a sex toy in the trash pull. And it later turned out that what was identified as a sex toy was in fact a broken salad utensil. And so, but when the police used the information from their report in their affidavits and their arrest warrants, they kept the part about it being finding sex toys in the garbage pull, but never mentioned the fact that it was later found to be a salad utensil. There's also no mention in that police report about the fact that Epstein had been adamant that he didn't know that anybody was underage. In fact, there was, as I understood it, because I didn't do it, but as I understood it, there was a lie detector test, a polygraph test where Epstein, which indicated that Epstein was being truthful when he said he didn't know about the age.
So Mr. Indyke,
So
let's go back to an earlier question that I asked you about when in context of that charge, when in context to his adjudication of guilt and his sentencing. I assume, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that you wrote this in connection with the sentencing or the pre-sentencing report on behalf of the defense. Is that accurate?
I don't know for a fact, but that's not what I recollect.
Okay.
I think this was done. This was done previously.
It's intriguing about what you just testified to. You went some rather lengthy detail about the theory of the defense of Mr. Epstein. But you're having trouble contextualizing when you wrote this particular document. I find that intriguing and a little bit difficult for me to understand why.
May I just say that he didn't write the document.
Well, over the course of the reason I can provide as much detail about the defense position is because that detail has been argued over and over and over again by the defense counsel. So it's something that has stuck in my mind. When this was written, it was written once. It was also a very long time ago. And so I can't tell you precisely when it was written. And I can't tell you, I just can't tell you the full context when this was submitted.
In your opening, you said that after 2008, after his guilty plea, you thought that he was contrite and that he learned from his mistake. And you said that you were horrified to learn of the crimes he committed after. What crimes are you referencing after 2008?
So now with hindsight,
Was he ever charged, or I'm unaware of any charge or referencing times post 2008? Is there,
So-
what charges are you referencing? What crimes are you referencing?
I'm not referencing any charges after 2008. After he was,
What conduct after 2008 was criminal? Because you said that you were horrified to learn of his criminal activity after that. In your own,
I'm not sure that I
You did.
don't think I said I was horrified to learn of his criminal acts. I was horrified that he hurt people. But all of that is in the context of statements that have emerged since his death.
what criminal activity occurred?
Since his,
I'm unaware what criminal activity occurred post 2008.
I don't specifically know what criminal activity occurred post 2008. I wasn't there. I didn't see any criminal activity, but what I've seen now are allegations by a number of women that have come to light after he died, where they said, oh, because these things happen. And while I've never seen him do anything that way, nobody's ever reported anything to me that way. Clearly, with all these women saying this happens. And so learning this after his death, I feel horribly. And that's what I said. I do feel horrible.
So, Mr. Indyke, just go back to the statement you wrote that was inserted in the defense statement. I just wondering if was it your normal practice to write such a letter of recommendation on behalf of someone without full understanding of the ramifications of what you were saying and the allegations and the context with which you were being asked to write that? I mean, did you know why you were being asked to write that specific statement?
I knew that people were saying, were making allegations against him, which were contrary to what I had observed in him. And the truth is that I felt they asked me for what he had done that was generous to me. And I felt like I could be honest about that. And so that's why I did it.
So I'm aware that you were a transactional attorney, probably didn't know ramifications, but you understood, I would guess, as an attorney, somewhere along the pike, I had to understand something about criminal law, that your statement was going to be used to facilitate a reduction in sentence, reduction in charges, or some benefit to Mr. Epstein in light of the rather substantial charges which you described in some detail that you were aware of.
At the time that, first of all, this is the first time anything like that ever happened to me. So to some extent, it's all very new to me. I am still representing the person. The person that I represented never exhibited this kind of conduct to me, was very generous to me. And at the time,
Even though he was generous to you, even though he was generous to you, you understood this was going to be used to facilitate either a reduction in sentence or reduction in charges.
but I also understood that the answer is, I understood that it was I didn't know it was going to be used for a reduction of charges or reduction of sentence. I understood it was going to be used to give to law enforcement as a character reference for him. Okay, I did understand that.
And so why would you give a character reference if not for a reduction of sentence or reduction in charges? I mean, that's why you would give something like that to a police agency, is it not?
That's not what was going on. That's not what I was thinking at the time.
All right.
It wasn't.
Mr. Indyke, you had referenced attorney-client privilege. I just, for the record, if you wish to assert any privilege, you must say so on the record.
So far, there hasn't been a very specific question. If that does arrive, I'll let you know.
And we're going to jump around a little bit here, but you had mentioned that the allegations that were made against Mr. Epstein during that 2006-2008 period, you had mentioned they were untrue. Who Did you make that determination yourself?
No, that was communicated to me.
Who communicated that to you?
And through, it was communicated through defense counsel. And the reason I can discuss it is this, it's the same statements that defense counsel made in documents they delivered to the government.
And for the record, who was the defense counsel?
Epstein had a lot of defense attorneys at the time. Off the top of my head, Gerald Lefcourt was one. I believe Jack Goldberg. Dershowitz, Alan Dershowitz, I think I mentioned, Lily Sanchez, I'm trying to remember who was involved at that particular time. Cheryl Reich, I believe, was an attorney, a criminal defense attorney of his at the time. Guy Lewis also. Martin Weinberg, the attorneys came on at different times, so I can't tell you exactly who came on when.
In addition to defense counsel, did Mr. Epstein hire private investigators?
I don't know that Mr. Epstein hired private investigators. I believe the defense counsel hired private investigators.
Why were private
Oh,
investigators?
sorry, Roy Black. I want to add to that. Roy Black was part of this as well.
Why were defense or private investigators hired?
Not being a criminal defense attorney, and not participating at the time that they did this, because I came in after. I didn't hear anything about the allegations until about 2006 or so. Much of the attorney's work had already been done by that time, including, I think, the hiring of private investigators. So the actual reasons as to why, I don't know, but I think my assumption at the time was that's kind of what you do as a criminal